I was inspired to become an artist. I think when we were hanging out when we were living in communist Poland, my husband and I, in the early '80s, during the time of Solidarity. It was a difficult but very sort of exciting time, and we hung out with a lot of artists there who were very rebellious against the communist government. And then in Sicily, we moved to Sicily, and I took up watercolor because the landscapes there are so beautiful. And then I had a child. We moved to Rangoon, Burma. I didn't really paint that much there. I did take one class with one of Burma's best known artists at the time, and I didn't even pick up a pencil during that class. We were sitting outside with these temple bells ringing, and he would talk to me about the being of things. And that was a very unusual art class. And then we moved to Havana, Cuba during the special period in time of peace, which was a very, very difficult time after the Soviet Union had disappeared and the Soviet subsidies that were propping up the Cuban government had fallen, and people were so hungry they were eating cats. Incidentally, we left there with 3 cats that were all born in our garden there. But I joke to people that Fidel Castro is who inspired me to become an artist, because I really started painting seriously there. I studied with a Cuban man who was blacklisted by the government because he was a Catholic, a practicing Catholic, and at that time religion was seen as a very controversial and rebellious thing by the Cuban government. So, but it was difficult because I couldn't leave the city of Havana without getting prior approval. So I couldn't really do landscapes, plus it was very hot, and I didn't really like the idea of sitting in a field and having a bunch of Cubans coming around to see what this weird Yankee is doing. But the flowers that you found in the market were pretty sad looking, same with the fruit. So still lives weren't really something that I wanted to pursue, but I started to do portraits. I started to paint the people around me, and I realized that the older they were, the more interesting their faces were. Young people didn't interest me. They haven't, the lives they've lived is not yet stamped on their faces. So then we had the great fortune of moving to Lima, Peru. My husband, incidentally, was a US diplomat, and the faces in Lima and in the Altiplano, especially the indigenous people, just absolutely compelled me to start doing these portraits. But instead of doing the usual portraits of the rich, the famous, and the beautiful, which is what most portrait artists do, I wanted to turn the art of portraiture on its head and paint the marginalized people, the beggars, the indigenous people that people don't see, they pass by. And I wanted to put them up on the wall and sort of force people to confront their humanity. And that transformed the idea of these as worthless people, less than human, into people that were worth contemplating. So that took a huge turn in my art, and I really focused on portraits after that.